What happens after death? It is one of the oldest questions in human history. Every civilization, every culture, every religion has tried to answer it. Not scientifically, but spiritually. Some imagine paradise. Some imagine judgment. Some imagine rebirth. Others imagine nothing at all. The idea of an afterlife is not just theology. It is psychology. It shapes how people live, how they behave, how they make moral decisions, and how they face fear. Let us begin in ancient Egypt. For the Egyptians, death was not the end. It was a transition, but survival in the afterlife required preparation. The soul, or Ba, would leave the body, but it needed a preserved physical form to return to. This is why mummification was essential. The heart would be weighed against the feather of Ma'at, the symbol of truth. If the heart was heavier than the feather, it would be devoured. If balanced, the soul would enter the field of reeds, a perfected version of earthly life. Notice something important. The Egyptian afterlife was not abstract. It was structured. It required moral balance. Now move to ancient Greece. The Greeks imagined Hades, not necessarily a place of torture, but a shadowy underworld. Most souls drifted in a gray existence, but there were divisions. Elysium for heroes, Tartarus for the wicked. Again, morality appears, but unlike Egypt, preparation was not ritual heavy. It was narrative heavy. Stories shaped expectation. In Hinduism, the concept changes dramatically. The afterlife is not a permanent destination. It is part of a cycle. Samsara, the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. The soul reincarnates based on karma. Actions determine the next life. The ultimate goal is moksha, liberation from the cycle itself. This is radically different. Not reward or punishment, but transcendence. In Buddhism, a similar cycle exists, but there is no permanent soul. Rebirth happens, but identity dissolves. Nirvana is not heaven. It is the end of suffering and illusion. Now consider Christianity. The structure becomes binary. Heaven or hell. Salvation or damnation. Eternal reward. Eternal punishment. Judgment becomes central. Moral accountability is amplified. Life becomes a test. Islam shares structural similarities. Paradise described vividly. Gardens, rivers, peace. Hell described intensely. Fire, regret, separation. Judgment Day is dramatic and cosmic. In both traditions, belief and action matter. Now consider Judaism. The Hebrew Bible focuses more on earthly life. Concepts of Sheol appear, a shadowy place. Later, Jewish thought introduces resurrection and the world to come. But emphasis historically remained on living righteously now. In Norse mythology, the afterlife depends on how one dies. Warriors may go to Valhalla, others to hell. Death in battle is honored. Courage shapes eternity. Indigenous traditions vary widely. Some view ancestors as continuing spiritual presence. Some believe spirits merge with nature. Some see the afterlife as layered worlds. Across cultures, patterns emerge. Moral structure, continuation of consciousness, reward or purification. cycle, or transcendence. Why? Because the afterlife solves psychological problems. It answers injustice. It explains suffering, provides hope. It gives meaning to sacrifice. It reduces fear. If death is not the end, fear weakens. If actions have eternal consequences, morality strengthens. The afterlife is not just belief. It is social engineering. It stabilizes civilizations. It influences law. It influences warfare. It influences charity. But there is another layer. Near-death experiences reported across cultures often describe light, peace, separation from the body, review of life. These experiences are interpreted differently depending on belief. A Christian may see heaven. A Hindu may see karmic transition. A secular person may see neurological phenomena. Brain science shows that during extreme stress, the brain can release chemicals that create intense perceptions. Tunnel vision, bright light, out-of-body sensations. But science does not fully answer subjective meaning. Now step back. Why are afterlife visions so vivid? Because imagination amplifies the unknown. Death is the ultimate uncertainty. The mind resists uncertainty, so cultures fill the void with narrative. Paradise is often described using familiar earthly pleasure. Hell often mirrors cultural fears. Fire in desert cultures, ice in northern cultures, cycles in Eastern traditions, linear judgment in Abrahamic ones. The shape of the afterlife reflects geography, economy, and psychology. But there is something universal. Humans refuse to believe consciousness simply ends. This may be evolutionary. Fear of death encourages survival. Hope beyond death encourages bravery. Communities built around shared destiny are more cohesive. The afterlife unites generations, ancestors, descendants, continuity. Now consider a controversial idea. What if the afterlife is less about the dead and more about the living? What if its function is to regulate behavior here? Heaven incentivizes virtue. Hell deters harm. Reincarnation encourages responsibility. Liberation encourages detachment. Even secular cultures have symbolic afterlives. Legacy, reputation, memory. To live on in history, the language changes. The function remains. Does this mean the afterlife is fictional? Not necessarily. It means its psychological power is undeniable. Across thousands of years, civilizations independently constructed remarkably similar structures. Judgment, continuation, transformation, peace, or purification. Even atheism grapples with existential continuation through impact. The question then becomes, is belief in an afterlife irrational? Or is it an adaptive human response to mortality? Science explores brain function. Religion explores meaning. Philosophy explores identity. None have fully resolved the mystery. And perhaps that is the point. The afterlife persists not because it is provable, but because it is necessary. Necessary for comfort, for order, for narrative closure. Without it, death is abrupt, final, silent. With it, death becomes transition. A door, a test, a return, or liberation. Every religion offers a map, but no one has returned with a verified report. Yet belief remains, stronger than ever, because the question remains: what happens after death? The answer changes. The question does not.